Thank you, Zack Snyder. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is me, Mr. City Gang Production here. Today we're gonna be doing a movie review, and the movie that we're gonna be reviewing is Man of Steel, directed by the one and only Zack Snyder. This movie is already 12 years old, and it's still one of my favorite movies growing up. I remember watching the movie for the first time on theater. I was completely mind blown by everything. The action, the cinematography, the soundtrack and plot, and of course the casting of Henry Cavill as Superman. Movie is one of the best superhero movie growing up, and till to this day I still watch it. To me, it still aged like fine wine. But does this movie still hold up and changes people's thoughts and opinion about this movie? We are gonna find out on this video. In this category, I'll be talking about the summary of the plot, my thoughts and opinion about the movie itself, the cinematography, the casting, everything about this movie. So please grab a popcorn, sit back and relax, and let's get right into it. But first, I'm gonna be talking about how I got into this movie for the first time. Back when I was a 9 years old boy, I was more of a Batman fanboy. I never really cared for Superman as a character. I just thought that he was extremely boring, lame, and superficial. I find the character of Batman to be a lot more interesting because he deals with a lot of things like personal trauma. He's more dark and brooding, more mature and serious. He's even more grounded. Christopher Nolan did a great job adapting the guy into the big screen. Made me fall in love with the character so much that I resonate with him a lot. Unlike the Superman movies, which is really hard for me to resonate. The Superman Return movie that was directed by Bryan Singer was really boring. I tried to watch the classic Superman movie, it didn't go well for me. When The Dark Knight Rises dropped in 2012, which is the last movie of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, I was so sad to hear this, knowing that this will be our last time to see Christian Bale and Michael Caine and the rest of the cast as Batman and Alfred and what's his name? I forgot. It was a bittersweet ending for the trilogy, but hey, at least they gave us a proper send off of the movie, unlike any other superhero movies. So when the Dark Knight trilogy ended, I was hoping that we were gonna see a Superman reboot that has a very similar vibe and tone that the Dark Knight trilogy has. But then when I heard the news that Christopher Nolan won't be directing the Superman reboot, since that he won't be directing any more superhero films, I was kind of sad. I respect the decision that he made because he at least he gave us some good stuff. So instead, he hired the guy who made 300, Watchmen, and the Dawn of the Dead reboot, who goes by the name Zack Snyder. At first, I was kind of skeptical about this because of his work. Watchmen to me was one of the most edgiest, darkest superhero movie of all time. I remember being extremely scared and horrified when I watched it. It was way more dark and serious compared to the Dark Knight trilogy. I asked myself, are you sure this guy should direct a Superman movie? Because this movie is dark. But the truth is, we shouldn't judge the book by its cover. We'll have to wait and see when the movie comes out. Maybe Zack Snyder can prove us wrong. So when the trailer drops online on YouTube, I was completely mind blown by the trailer. It was exactly what I expected for a Superman movie. Superman being a drifter, finding his purpose, the Superman suit looking more greater than before, the cinematography, the vibe, and of course the Lord of the Ring music. This is exactly what I want for a Superman movie. A movie going for a serious and more matured route, way more relevant to the modern audience today. When the movie was dropped on Independence Day, it with my whole family, I was completely mind blown by the whole thing. The action, the cinematography, the story, of course, Hans Zimmer's score, the casting, everything about this movie is great from start to finish. This is the first movie that made me fall in love with Superman's character and my gateway to Superman's media. I was also wrong about Zack Snyder. He can make a movie that is inspiring than he did with Watchmen. This movie has officially made me turn into a Superman fan and a Zack Snyder fan. When the score for this movie drops on Rotten Tomato and it was 57%, which is I honestly don't really care. Really don't care what Rotten Tomato thinks. I also don't care about the audience score, even if the score is a lot positive than the Rotten Tomato score. But then when I heard the negative reception from the internet, I was kind of sad, heartbroken. Three of the complaint from the fans were a lot. Like for example, Zack Snyder raped my childhood. Zack Snyder doesn't understand Superman at all. This movie is obsessed with slow-mo action. This movie is just style over substance. The movie has too much action. Superman shouldn't have killed Zod. Superman shouldn't be dark and edgy and brooding. He doesn't even smile a lot. Superman doesn't shape enough people in this movie. Jonathan Kent was wrong to let people die on the bus. It's not like the Christopher Reeve movies. Clark and Lois have no chemistry in this movie at all. You know what? All of this complaint is just bullshit and nonsense to me anyway. I will be addressing the criticism and debunk them, but for now, I think I'm gonna have to summarize the plot for you guys. So, so yeah, let's get right into it. So the film begins on a dying planet called Krypton, where natural resources have been depleted and the planet core is unstable due to over-harvesting. As the world collapses, Jor-El, a leading scientist, and his wife Lara send their newborn son Kal-El to Earth, embedding his cells with the genetic codex of the entire Kryptonian race in hope of preserving their people. At the same time, General Zod, a militant leader, attempts a coup to take control of Krypton and preserve it through more extreme means. Zod is defeated and sent into the Badam Zone, but not before vowing to find and retrieve the Codex. Krypton is destroyed shortly after Kal-El's ship escapes. On Earth, Kal-El is found and raised by farmers, Jonathan and Martha Kent in Smallville, Kansas, who name him as Clark Kent. As Clark grew up, he struggled with his powers, super strength, heat, vision, x-ray vision, and flight, which set him apart from others. Jonathan urges him to keep his ability a secret to protect him, even at the cost of not saving people. In one tragic moment, Jonathan dies in a tornado rather than allow Clark to reveal himself publicly. As an adult, Clark lives in obscurity, drifting and doing odd jobs while secretly helping people. His journey for answers lead him to a Kryptonian scout ship buried in ice where he learns of his origin from a preserved AI of his father. Jor-El, Clark donned a Kryptonian suit with the House of El symbol, what Earthling will come to know as the Superman emblem, and began to embrace his identity. Meanwhile, journalist Lois Lane investigates the mysterious man connected to the miraculous rescue and eventually track Clark down. She agrees to keep his secret after realizing the weight of his burden. Zod and his crew escape the Phantom Zone after Krypton destruction and arrive on Earth, demanding that Kal-El must be handed over. Zod wants to use the codec embedded in Clark to rebuild Krypton on Earth, even if it means wiping out humanity. Clark surrenders to the military to protect Earth, but soon escapes with Lois after Zod attack. A devastating battle follows. Zod unleashes a terraforming device called the World Engine to convert Earth's atmosphere into something Kryptonian can survive in, but at the cost of all human life. Superman battles Zod and his followers in Metropolis, resulting in widespread destruction. With the help of the military, Superman destroys the World Engine and stops the plan. In a final confrontation, Zod, now the last surviving Kryptonian, beside Kal-El, fights Superman to death, refusing to stop killing humans. Zod forces Superman to make a painful choice to kill him. Superman snaps Zod's neck to save innocent people, falling to his knees in anguish afterward. In the aftermath, Superman vows to protect Earth but insists that the military not track him. He adopts the disguise of a mild-mannered reporter at the Daily Planet, working alongside Lois Lane, who now knows his true identity but keeps his secret. Now that's the end of my summary. Plot is alright. A lot of people seem to have an issue on following the plot because it wasn't really a copy paste of their beloved 1978 movie, but I understand everything. Alright, so what I like about this movie is that it really isn't just your typical generic superhero origin. So, and honestly, that's what makes this movie special to me. So, this movie is about identity, The plot takes its time exploring who Clark Kent is before he ever put on the suit. Instead of rushing into action, we watch him struggle with isolation, purpose, and whether the world is even ready for someone like him. It's a more humane Superman movie. So, one of the film's strengths is its moral complexity. Clark's choices aren't really easy. He's torn between staying hidden or revealing himself to help people. And the fact that his two dads, Jonathan Kent and Jor-El, have completely different views make the conflict even richer. Then there's Zod, who isn't just another generic villain. His mission to save Krypton by terraforming Earth makes sense from his point of view. It turned the final battle into an ideological clash, not just a fistfight. The movie goes big, world-ending stakes and all, but it always circled back to Clark's personal growth. Even the controversial ending, where he forced to kill Zod, fits the emotional arc. It's not just action, it's also sacrifice. So yeah, Man of Steel took risks with its tone and plot, but that's why it works. It treats Superman not as a symbol, but as a man learning how to become one. Love it or hate it, it gave us a Superman story that actually asked what it really meant to be him, what it really meant to be Superman. You know what they all say? The action in this movie is like what if Dragon Ball Z met with sci-fi realism. First of all, I love the action in this movie. It's so insane. This is the first time we really seen what a Kryptonian level fight would look like on Earth, and it does not hold back. Superman and Zod throw each other through building jet an entire block. It's fast, brutal, and honestly kind of jaw-dropping. The Smallville sequence in particular, pure top tier. You feel every punch, every slam, and it shows just how outmatched humanity is in a world with being like this. You know what I like about the action sequence in these movies is that, especially during the terraforming sequence, is what not there. There are no quippy one-liner, no snarky back and forth to lighten the mood. There's no is that all you got or I'm always angry moment to break the tension. This isn't a scene trying to entertain you with wisecrack. It's showing you a global catastrophe unfolding in real time. In most superhero films, especially from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the action tends to be undercut with jokes. It's fun for sure, but sometimes it undermines the stakes. In Man of Steel, Zack Snyder make a different choice. He treats the destruction with weight, the fear is real, the silence in the street, the scream, the panic. It feels like a disaster movie, not just your typical average generic Saturday morning cartoon. Superman in this scene isn't cracking joke. He's dying of pain, pushing through impossible odds to save the planet. And you know what? That makes him feel more human, because in the face of extinction, who's really laughing? There's another criticism that I want to address in this topic is that one of the loudest criticism in Man of Steel is that, especially in Metropolis, is that a lot of people think that the whole sequences is just glorified destruction. But let's set the record straight. Isn't some mindless chaos. It's not destruction for the sake of spectacle. What you're watching is a planetary scale invasion. It's not about watching things blow up. It's about showing how high the stakes really are when God goes to war. Look, so the whole point of the destruction scene in Man of Steel is that you should feel uncomfortable watching the skyscraper fall. You should feel the fear and helplessness as civilians flee the devastation. That's the point. Zack Snyder is not glorifying the destruction, he's forcing you to feel the cost of it. Where some superheroes film flatten cities and follow it up with a punchline, Man of Steel lingers on the aftermath. The camera holds on the wreckage. You see firefighters, collapsing buildings, terrified people. It's meant to feel like a tragedy, not a light show. Superman's not smiling. He's not making cool entrance. He's struggling to survive to stop the extinction of the human race. And that's what makes this action sequence different. It's not hollow, it's meaningful. Another criticism that I wanted to address in this topic is that it's one of the most repeated and most misunderstood criticism of Man of Steel. Superman didn't care about the destruction around him, that he let Metropolis crumble without a second thought. But here's the thing, by the way, let's set the record straight. Clark has never faced anything like this before. He didn't have a years of experience, no fortress of solitude to teach him in battle tactics. What he had was instinct, raw emotion, and the desperate need to stop Zod and save the world. He was thrown into a war he didn't start, and yes, people got hurt, but doesn't mean he didn't care at all. Look at that final moment. After Zod forces him to kill, Superman screams in agony. That's not someone who's indifferent. That's someone who hates what he had to do, who's already carrying the weight of every loss that just happened. And it's not like he ignored civilians. He literally flies halfway across the world to stop the world engine alone. While the military handles Metropolis, he makes the hard choice to end the threat at its sources.
Krypton had its chance!
That moment wasn't just about beating the machine. It was Superman choosing us, choosing Earth, risking his life to stop the destruction, not cause of it. So no, not at all. Superman wasn't cold, he wasn't careless, he was overwhelmed, he was learning, and he was hurting. That make him more human than the critics ever gave him credit for. Now let's move on to another topic. We're gonna talk about the cinematography. This movie has one of the best visually a wrestling superhero film ever made. Say whatever you will, the cinematography is completely stunning, it's textured, it's purposeful. Shot by Amir Mokri, who did Transformers Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, and Fast and Furious, the film ditches the glossy comic book look for a more grounded, immersive visual experience. You feel like you're watching a myth unfold through a documentary lens. The handheld camera worked in the early scenes, especially during Clark wandering and the Smallville flashback. Give the story a sense of intimacy and realism. It's not polished and pristine, it's raw. You're right there with him, feeling his isolation, his confusion, and eventually his awe. The color palette gets unfairly labeled as washed out, but it's actually a strategic choice. The muted blues and grays of Earth contrast beautifully with the radiant red and gold of Superman's suit. When Kal-El takes flight for the first time and the sun hits his cape, that moment glows. It's poetic. It says that this is a hero emerging from the dust. And speaking of flight, the aerial cinematography in Man of Steel is unmatched. The way the camera follows through the sky with rapid zooms, snap pans, and wide angle shots give you the visceral thrills of a speed and weight. It's not a cartoon, it's a living body defying the physics. You feel the velocity, you feel the G-force. Structure of Metropolis is a form of visual standpoint. It's colossal, chaotic, and terrifying in the best way. The use of natural light, debris, and motion blur doesn't just create spectacle, it immerses you in a catastrophe. You feel small, you feel human. Not forget the quieter moment in the films. Jonathan Kent's death in the storm, young Clark panic in the classroom, the quietly serenity of the Kent farm. All these moments are shot with softness and humanity that balance the grandeur. Alright, so let's move on with the soundtrack. So when I first heard that Hans Zimmer was gonna compose the soundtrack for Man of Steel, I was so super excited because damn, I mean this is the guy who gave us the deep primal energy for the Dark Knight trilogy, the guy who turned two notes into a full-blown identity for Batman. So naturally, I was so hyped to see what he was gonna do with the score of Superman. So the moment I heard the first real piece of the music, you know the one that's called "What Are You Gonna Do When You're Not Saving the World," I was so completely mind blown. I felt it deep right in the chest. This wasn't just the music; it was hope made audible. Hans Zimmer's theme doesn't just play behind Superman; it becomes his soul. It's meditative, it's emotional, and when it's right, it soars. I'm telling you, that track alone is more encouraging and more motivational than half the TED talks out there. It's the kind of music that make you wanna get up, chase your dream, live a truck, and call your dad just to say you love him, or your mom. It's powerful and it's personal. So here are my personal favorite track from Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel score. Because let's be real, this album isn't just music. It's not only background music. It's an emotional experience. Every single piece feels like it's telling a chapter of Superman's journey. And these five tracks, they're absolutely phenomenal. The first one I would like to announce here is the flight scene. I mean, it's not flight scene, but whatever. Not only my favorite, it's also everyone's favorite. To me, it start off so soft and uncertain, like Clark Kent standing on the edge of the world, unsure if he can do this. But then the rhythm kick in, that boom, 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 and the strings start to swell, and suddenly he's in the air, and you feel it. The camera spinning, the world rushing by, and Zimmer's theme lifts you right off the ground. To me, it's not just a flying scene, it's a spiritual awakening, like Clark finally stepping into who he was born to be. No words, just sound and sky. Absolutely peak cinema and magic. Second music is what are you going to do when you're not saving the world? This is um, this is one of the iconic piece of on the album, and for good reason. This is Clark's emotional climax, the full realization of Superman, the hero, not just the man. It's building from nothing, calm piano, hopeful tone, and then boom, that full Superman theme explode in triumph. This is the soundtrack to Rising Above Fear. It was when you hit rock bottom, but still choose to get back up. Zimmer didn't just write music, he wrote courage. For the third music in my list is The Oil Rig. To me, this track is completely underrated. It's not loud or bombastic, it's so intense, brooding, primal. It's Clark before he hold on the cape, before his glory, just a man with the strength of a god risking his life for a total stranger. Zimmer used heavy percussion here, but not to show off its weight, its burden. There's no celebration in this track. It's super dangerous, sacrifice, and power barely contained. It reminds us that even when he's in hiding, Clark has always been Superman. This one is my personal favorite on the track, and it's called Terraforming. Now, this one is my personal favorite. I already said that. It's the most epic, most cinematic, most thunderous track in the whole album. This is war. This is when God bring hell to Earth, and Superman has to decide what kind of God he's going to be. It's dark, relentless, but there's a desperation to it. You hear the drum pounding like a machine, ripping the planet apart. You feel the pressure building, the string go full chaos, and the middle of all that. Zimmer sneak in fragment of Superman's theme, buried under the noise, like hope struggling to survive. This track is like a mythical presentation of Earth's final stand. It's Zimmer doing war music better than anyone else in the game. Apocalyptic and beautiful. So that's all for my list of favorite tracks. Let's move on to a topic, and this might be my most hot controversial opinion of all time. Alright, guys, alright, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna completely say it. Honest to God, honest to truth. Here it goes. Hans Zimmer's Superman theme is way better than John Williams' Superman theme, and I'm tired of pretending it isn't. Yeah, I said it. I know. The John Williams theme is iconic, it's classic, it's the golden trumpet of nostalgia. You hear that brass fanfare, and you're instantly transported back to 1978, watching Christopher Reeve open his shirt with a smile. But, hear me out. I'm gonna be completely brutally honest with you guys. That theme screams Boy Scout, truth, justice, and a wink at the camera. It's Superman as an ideal, a symbol, a poster boy. Hans Zimmer, he gave us a Superman as a man, a conflicted emotional human being with the weight of the world on his shoulder. His theme isn't flashy, it's earned. It's built slowly like Clark finding himself. It doesn't tell you he's a hero, it shows you how he became one. John Williams' theme gave us an anthem, Hans Zimmer gave us a soul. To flight, the slow builds the heartbeat like drum, the way it rises, not in triumph but in struggle. Hans Zimmer scores Superman not as a savior but as a man becoming one. It's a score that understands growth, not just glory. In 1978, we needed Superman to believe everything was going to be okay. In 2013, we needed a Superman who understands pain. That what Zimmer brought, a soundscape that reflected a post 9/11, uncertain, cynical world, and a Superman who chooses hope anyway. Hans Zimmer's music is that tension. It's alien, raw, sometimes minimalist, sometimes overpowering, just like Clark emotion, just like our world. Hans Zimmer's music isn't whistle on the street, but to be honest, it felt in your chest and inspired a whole new era of superhero score that lean into emotion, not just heroism. I mean, think about it. Would we get those thunderous drum of Diana or the eerie dread of Pattinson Batman without Zimmer's trailblazing work? Probably not. John Williams, he defined Superman, but to me, Hans Zimmer redefined him. And sometimes redefining a myth takes more bravery than just writing one in the first place. Alright, so that's all for my review on the soundtrack. Let's move on to the CGI. You know what I love about the CGI in this movie? Even after all these years since its release, it still holds up. Like seriously, the visual effect in Man of Steel aged like fine wine. I mean, like seriously, like compare this movie CGI to other movie releases nowadays. I think to me this movie still aged like fine wine. I mean, come on, just take a look at Transformers: Rise of the Beast, the Flash CGI, and the Black Panther fight scene. They look so plastic and clunky compared to Man of Steel. To me, I think Man of Steel CGI is on par level as Michael Bay's Transformers CGI. They all age like fine wine. There's something about the way how Zack Snyder and his team approached the VFX here. It's so grounded, but still spectacular. The weight of every impact, the sheer velocity when Superman breaks the sound barrier, it all feels real, like if God were actually throwing down on Earth. This is exactly what it would look like. It wasn't flashy for the sake of being flashy. The CGI served the story. It grounded the mythology in reality. Every moment, whether it's Clark floating above the earth or Zod tearing through a skyscraper, has intensity. You feel the consequences. Also, can we talk about Farah? That scene where she moved faster than the eye can follow, absolutely destroying the military. It's still to me one of the best demonstrations of super speed ever put on film. No cheesy blur effect, no cartoon physics, just raw precise violence. And also, hate all you want, but you have to admit, Man of Steel has a visual identity. The CGI isn't just technically strong, it's aesthetic, it's art, the muted color palette, the subtle lens flare, the documentary style camera work during the chaos, it all gives the film this hyper real immersive quality. So the thing what I love about this movie is that you don't feel like you're watching a green screen show. You feel like someone just brought a camera into a myth unfolding. So yeah, when people talk about how bad CGI and VFX are aging badly, Man of Steel isn't one of them. To me, it set a higher standard bar, and a decade later, it still looks cleaner than most blockbusters today. That's not just good CGI, that's visionary execution. Alright, that's all for my compliment on the CGI. Let's move to another category. This time, we will be talking about the characters. Henry Cavill as Superman. One of my favorite versions. I don't care what people say, but to me, Henry Cavill brought Superman, aka Clark Kent, back to life, and he did a great job on portraying the role, and I'm gonna explain why. He feels everything. He's not perfect, he doubts, he struggles, he carries the burden of his powers and responsibility like a real person would. That makes him human, not just super. He looked exactly like Superman. Not just cosplay, not pretty clothes. This guy is Kal-El. The jawline, the physique, the present. It's like someone genetically engineered him for the role. Henry Cavill can say more with a look than most actors can with a monologue. His eyes shows the conflict, the pain, the weight of expectation. This is a Superman who feels human because he's allowed to be vulnerable. Henry Cavill feels like a hero learning to be a man, and that's exactly what Superman should be. From walking out of the fortress to hovering over Earth like a celestial being, he captures that larger than life energy perfectly. Henry Cavill's version wrestles with morally gray areas. He's trying to be good in a world that doesn't know how to handle him. He's not just a stereotypical cartoon mascot, he's a man of principle in a cynical time, and that makes him more inspiring, not less. Henry Cavill's Superman fight like a freight train. When he fought Zod and other Kryptonian, every punch feels real. He doesn't just float and pose, he throws down with god tier power, but still hold back to protect the innocent. This is a Superman who doesn't have all the answers. He questions his place, his powers, his purpose, and that make him relatable. He's not just saving people, he's figuring out how to live with being the most powerful being on Earth. His version of Clark Kent isn't pretending to be a generic cartoon or a mumbling idiot. He's subtle, thoughtful, introverted. He blends in not by mumbling around, but by observing, listening, and learning. He's the guy in the corner of the newsroom who's always thinking. His suit is a complete upgrade. Plus, it's not only a Superman suit, it's also a Kryptonian armor that looks alien, regal, powerful. There's no goofy underwear on the outside, just slick, mythic design. This is what a Superman would actually wear, not some Halloween costume from the 1930s or from 1978. Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest, the classic suit looks so stupid and ridiculous, and I can't take that red trunk seriously. I'm sorry. I'm not really sorry at all. Henry Cavill and Amy Adams just crush it. Their bond is built on trust and intellect, not just like, oh look, save me, princess. She figured out who he is before anyone else. She is his anchor, not a damsel in distress. She is way too much better than the chaotic, chain-smoking cartoon energy of Margaret Kidder. And yes, I said it. Whether you like him or not, there's a generation out there that grew up on Man of Steel, and for us, this is Superman. He's the one who inspired us to stay kind in a world that feels cruel, to ride even when everyone's pulling you down, to fly even when it hurts. Now that's all for my compliment on Henry Cavill as Superman. Now let's move forward to Amy Adams' Lois Lane. Amy Adams as Lois Lane, one of the most criminally underrated, overlooked Lois Lane in the comic book movie history, and I'm gonna say this loud and clear. She is my personal favorite version of Lois Lane. Yes, and I'm gonna take her over Margaret Kidder, and I'll explain why. A lot of people love to throw that criticism around. She's so boring, she lacks chemistry with Henry Cavill, she doesn't sass Clark enough, but here's what they miss. Amy Adams as Lois Lane is a real journalist, not just a love interest. First, she investigates, second, she travels solo, and third, she pieces together the mystery of Superman before he ever opened up to her. And more importantly, she earned his trust, not just his attention. She's not defined by snark or slapstick. She's defined by integrity, empathy, and action. And when chaos hit, she's in the thick of it, not just screaming for help, like, help me, Superman, help me! Amy Lewis isn't just there to flirt or be rescued. She's the moral anchor of Clark Kent's world. In Man of Steel, she's not a damsel, she's a partner. Batman v Superman, she's the only one trying to stop the madness when the world wants to crucify Superman. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, she carries the emotional weight of loss, and when she appears, it matters. She's the key. That's not boring, that's depth. Right, that's enough. Now that a lot of people keep talking shit about Amy Adams' Lois Lane, it's my turn to talk shit about Margaret Kidder and why she's not perfect. Okay, so listen, no disrespect to Margaret Kidder. I know that she was iconic for its time, but I'm gonna be completely honest. Her Lois Lane is kinda a heart of a mess of inconsistency. So mostly of the time she just throws herself off a building to get a story. She can't even spell properly in a Pulitzer winning article. She's more of a cartoon character than an actual character. And the chemistry, to be honest with Clark and Lois, I don't really care about their chemistry at all compared to Amy Adams and Clark. And also, let's not pretend that Margaret Kidder's version of Lois Lane was some untouchable gold standard. Because I'm gonna be honest, she was very campy, very annoying, and totally dependent on Superman on saving her. Amy Adams gave us a modern and matured Lois Lane, a complete person. She's someone who earned her place in the story, not with sass, but with strange courage and heart. And plus, she's not even cool because she snarked at Perry White. She's cool because she risked her life to expose corruption, comfort an alien god in crisis, and walk into war zone unarmed, armed only with truth. Alright, so my final word. Margaret Lois was just a 70s fantasy. Amy Lois feels like a modern iteration, and in this house, I prefer Amy Adam. I love Amy Adam, and I will stand by her Lois Lane. Alright, so enough chit chat. Let's move to another character. A lot of people love to throw this space around like, oh, Joker is the best DC villain ever made. And yes, it is true. Joker is the best Batman villain ever made. And don't get me wrong, I love Joker. He's chaos incarnate and a mirror to Batman's morality. But you know who else doesn't get nearly enough credit? Michael Shannon as General Zod. Yep, that's the guy. The warrior bred for survival, the man who didn't want to rule but was born to protect a dead world at any cost. I'm gonna explain to you guys on why Shannon Zod is one of the greatest DC villain ever put to the big screen. So, General Zod isn't just evil for the sake of being evil. He's not trying to take over the world for kicks. He's trying to save his people even if they're already extinct.
In this squalor, but you chose the humans over us. I exist only to protect Krypton. That is the sole purpose for which I was born. And every action I take, no matter how violent or how cruel, is for the greater good of my people.
That's not a villain. That's a zealot. A broken patriot clinging to the only purpose he was ever genetically designed for. Zod and Superman are both Kryptonian, but raised in a different world. Clark was raised with freedom, morality, and love. Zod was bred with program duty, no choice, no heart, only mission. That's what makes their battle so powerful. It's not only just a fist fight or a glorified destruction, whatever you call it, ideology versus ideology. That is what Superman could have been without human compassion. Every line he said in the movie is dripped with anger and conviction. He doesn't play Zod as some sort of generic comic book character. He plays him like a desperate general who lost everything. His pain is real, his wrath is earned, he's terrifying because he believes he's right. Now for Terrence Stamp, I like Terrence Stamp as General Zod. I love him more than, Christopher Reeve as Superman. I love his classical line, kneel before Zod. It's iconic, it's funny, it's theatrical, but I'm gonna be completely honest. General Zod version, Terrence Stamp Zod was more of a campy space tyrant. For me, Michael Shannon as Zod, he's not playing as a dress up. He's not floating around like a Shakespearean villain. He boot on the ground, face in the dirt, ready to fight and die for a lost cause. So in the bottom line, Michael Shannon gave us a very powerful villain, layered and emotionally devastating. He didn't want conquest, he wanted purpose, and when that purpose died, so did his soul. That final scream after he lost everything, that's not the sound of a defeated villain, that's the sound of a man robbed of a reason to live. For me, I think Zod wasn't evil, he was just programmed, and Superman had to put an end to him not because he hated him, but because he understood what he could become. To me, this is not a superhero fight, this is a Shakespeare in sci-fi armor. So yeah, put some goddamn respect on that name for Michael Shannon as General Zod. Okay, so that's enough. Let's move on to another character. Alright, so let's talk about Farah, one of the most underrated, lethal, and brutally efficient villain in comic book history. Played flawlessly by Anjay Troy, Farah didn't just steal scenes, she commanded them. From the moment she stepped on screen, you can feel the cold, calculated intensity. Farah wasn't loud, she wasn't flamboyant, she was a weapon, trained, loyal, deadly, and somehow more terrifying than that in close quarters. She doesn't even threaten you, she promised your destruction, and she delivered. And let's be real, that Smallville sequence, that was her moment. Superman was still learning, but somehow she kicked his ass. Farah was a trained warrior from the beginning, and she absolutely smoked the military and Cal at the same time. She didn't just outfight her opponent, she humiliated them with precision and elegance. Every punch was surgical, every line was ice cold.
You will not win. For every human you save, we will kill a million more.
Believe in Kryptonian superiority, not because she's a sadist, but because it's all she ever known. She doesn't need a big speech about morality, she lived her creed. Her loyalty to Zod isn't completely blind. It's embedded in her DNA, in her purpose. She represents the fanatical devotion that Kal-El escaped, and that's what makes her horrifying. Farah isn't just Zod's sidekick. She's a force of nature, a Kryptonian blade wrapped in cold flesh. She walked into Man of Steel, said 10 words, broke the sound barrier, beat Superman into the pavement, and walked out as a legend. To me, Farah deserves more respect. Only her, but her actress. She delivers a minimal dialogue, maximum impact. Her screen presence is just little calm. She never needed to scream, she never needed to monologue, she just acted with stillness, with posture, with laser focused fury. She made you believe that Superman can even lose. Now that's all for my comments on the character. Now let's move forward. So we can't finish the segment without talking about Jonathan and Martha Kent, the beating heart of Clark Kent's humanity, because without them, Superman wouldn't exist. So a lot of people still complain about the bus scene where he told Clark that he should have let the kid die. But you misheard that wrong, right? No, that's not what he actually said. Because what he really said was maybe. Because, let's be real, he is a scared father trying to protect a boy who could literally shake the earth. Jonathan wasn't really telling Clark to be completely selfish. He was telling him that the world isn't ready. He wasn't suppressing Clark's heroism. He was shielding his son from becoming a target.
Me, son. Be a huge burden for anyone to bear, but you're not just anyone, Clark, and I have to believe that you were sent here for a reason. All these changes that you're going through, one day you're gonna think of them as a blessing, and when that day comes, you're gonna have to make a choice. A choice of whether to stand proud in front of the human race or not.
Can I just keep pretending I'm your son?
You are my son.
The scene alone, it breaks me every time. This wasn't some abusive foster dad or one-note pep talk machine. He was layered, human and afraid, and that's what made him so real. A lot of dumbasses love to drag the tornado scene because it's ridiculous to them. But here's the truth. That wasn't about logic. That was about sacrifice. Jonathan Kent didn't die because he was completely stupid. He died because he was making a point. The truth is, the world isn't ready for him. Not yet, but maybe, just maybe, someday, the world will be ready. He chose to die to preserve Clark's anonymity, and more importantly, to show him restraint. He thought that that power has to be earned, not flaunted, and that lesson stayed with him all the way through Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and beyond. Alright, so let's talk about Martha, the soul of Superman. She's Clark's anchor, always reminding him that he's loved, not because he's powerful, but because he's him. Martha Kent is the reason why Superman doesn't lose his way. Even when the world turns against him, even when God and monster clash, he still comes home to her. And she never once asked him to be Superman. She just loved her boy. Together, that's what makes Superman work. Jonathan gave him a perspective, Martha gave him peace. They don't raise a superhero, they raise a good man, and that's the entire point. Man of Steel didn't give us the perfect parent, but it gave us the human one. The kind who made Superman not just powerful, but worthy of that power. So in conclusion, other Superman might have the cape, the curl, and the smile, but to me, this Superman, he was raised on love, sacrifice, and humility, and it's all thanks to the Kent. Kevin Costner and Diane Lane did a great job on portraying the Kent couple, and I will die on that hill. Alright, so that's all for my discussion on the characters. Supposed to be commenting on Perry White and Jenny Lane and the rest of the characters, but I think I have to end right here because there's still more topic that I wanted to discuss. So yeah, let's move forward. Hell yes, it does. In fact, it aged like fine Kryptonian wine. More and more people are realizing just how ahead of its time it was. This wasn't just a superhero movie, it was a modern myth, a philosophical epic, and a bold statement. It dared to rebuild Superman for a generation that no longer sees the world in black and white. In a time of noise, fear, and skepticism, Man of Steel asked what if Superman actually existed? If you think that Zack Snyder ruined Superman, then you're stuck in 1978. Zack Snyder gave us a Superman who bleed, who struggle, who learn, and choose to be a hero. Not a generic Boy Scout handed a cape. He made Superman a relatable, raw, and real for the 21st century. And if you still believe that he ruined Superman, I'm sorry, but you're a complete idiot. You didn't get the assignment. Please go back rewatch it. This time, open your mind instead of your nostalgia goggles. Yes, this movie made 668 million worldwide. That's not a flop, no matter what the haters cry about. But you know what? Even it wasn't a box office smash, who cares? Art shouldn't be measured in dollars. Some of the greatest movies ever made didn't break the bank, so why do we pretend like money is the only proof a movie is good? Man of Steel made people think, debate, and remember it over a decade later. That's not a flop, that's a legacy. If your only argument is the box office, then maybe you're just mad people still talk about it, and not the movie you like. What dated the DC franchise was Warner Bros. Panic. They had a goal in their hand and got scared because it didn't come with Marvel goofy joke and toy sale. Man of Steel built the foundation. The problem wasn't the tone, it was the corporate meddling that came after. Sure, it may not be coded a lot like the MCU, but you know what? Even if it didn't change the world, at least it changed me. It taught me that heroes can struggle, it shows me that hope isn't easy, it earned. It gave me a Superman who felt human. So maybe it didn't break the internet, but it broke through my doubt, fear, and my cynicism. That real impact. And no, box office stats or critic score is gonna measure that. Okay, so that's all for my movie review. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope it's lasted an impact on you guys, and I hope that this video does not piss people off because, like I said, this is just my opinion. Next movie review. This is gonna be my hard choice because I have three options. I will probably gonna do Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition, or Fear Street Prom Queen. But I don't know whether to make a movie review because college is coming right now and I have to focus on my studies. But anyway, don't worry. I will be seeing you guys on in the future. So if you guys are interested in this kind of content, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Then I will see you guys soon. Okay, bye.